we have a missing angle here, so we need to reverse the formula, flip the formula. So sine A over A equals sine B over B. Let's substitute in the values. Sine 34 over 10 equals sine Y over 16 times both sides by 16. So 16 times sine 34 over 10 is equal to sine Y. I'm just going to type that into my calculator. Okay, we get 0.89. 4 goes on forever equals sine Y. How do we make Y the subject here? We need to sine -1 both sides. So if we sine to the -1, our entire answer on our calculators, we get 63.47. Now, that's not an obtuse angle, is it? So this is why this is a higher level question. Just if you remember from your trig graphs, the graph for y equals sine x, so it's got a maximum of 1, a minimum of 1. We've got 90, just going to go up to 180 here. It's a peak at 90. I've not drawn that very well. And it curves back down here and repeats below your x-axis. So the sine of 63 is exactly the same as the sine of another answer here. Okay, so let's just look at the symmetry of our graph. This is 63.47 in, so that gap there is 63.47. So I'm going to do 180 minus 63.47, which is 116.5. So that's your value there, and that is the obtuse angle here. So you need to be aware of this ambiguous case when you're given two lengths as an angle and an angle. Let's just look at this question. We've got a triangle ABC. AB equals 8 centimetres, BC equals 6, and the angle CAB equals 40 degrees. So here are two possible versions what this triangle could look like. So we could have BCA made up with the length 8 centimetres, 40 degrees, and the length 6 centimetres, which would give us an obtuse angle. We could have this other case where you've got 8 and 6 centimetres, 40 degrees, and we'd be left with an acute angle. This only happens when you have two sides in an angle, and the reason being is because, well, you can see from the two pictures, but also you can have the sine of an angle can give you different answers. Okay, so let's just have a look at a question. In fact, we'll look at this one first, then you can have a go at a couple yourself. So we'll have A, big B, little b, sine A over A equals sine B over B. So sine 40 over 6 equals sine, or I've relabeled this, but that doesn't really matter. Sine, I'm going to call it B. Just going to get rid of their labelling here. Over 8 We're going to times both sides by 8. We get 0.857. And then sine to the minus 1 both sides. And we get 58.986, which I will round to 59.0 to 1 dp. Now that is the acute angle, so that's one of our possible answers. And what's the other possible answer? I'm just going to sketch my sine graph just to 180. So 1 and minus 1. So 59 degrees would be here. Give you the same answer here. So this gap of 59 degrees is the same as this gap of 59 degrees. So 180 minus 59. 121. So one of our answers is 59 degrees and the other answer is 121 degrees. Okay, have a go at these two questions yourself. For each one, I would suggest drawing both triangles first before you work out the missing angle. Okay, so we've got triangle ABC. AB is 12, BC is 9, CAB is 47 degrees. We need the two possible angles for BCA. This obviously here is an acute. So let me draw it now as an obtuse. So A, B, C, 9, 12, 47, and this time we've got an obtuse here. Okay, so I'll label it with the letters I've got this time, big C, little c, big A, little a. So we know sine A over A equals sine C over C. Sine 47 over 9 is equal to sine x over 12. Let's times both sides by 12. Sine to the minus 1 both sides. So to 1 dp. X here is 77.2. Let's just quickly sketch my sine graph. I only need from 0 to 180. 77.2 is here. That gap 77.2. Using the symmetry of my graph, it is the same as this space here. That's also 77.2. 102.8 to 1 dp. Okay, let's look at this last question. So again, triangle A, B, C. I'll draw the acute and obtuse version. (13), 11, CAB is 53. We want this angle here. So sine A over A equals sine C over C. Sine 53 over 11 is equal to sine x over 13. Let's times both sides by 13. So we have sine x is equal to 0.9438. Sine to the minus 1 both sides. So x is 70.7 is one of my answers. And we know now, just to work out the other answer, it's 180 minus 70.7. 109.3. So that's my second answer. So just bear that in mind. One of these questions might come up on the end of your paper.